Hello, today this is our second shot with the Node, which is a specific edition of IDA, the magazine of the SA, which research and talks about the arguments of the decision science, of course, starting from meeting the excellence of people in decision science and in general in leadership in decision making. And this is the reason why today we are meeting with Francisco Spadafora, which is Senior Director and Head of Digital Products and Asset-Based Business at NTT DATA Italia. And hello, Francisco, today. Hello.
Hi, Luca. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to have this moment to share some ideas and thoughts about
That's
this
great. That's great.
interesting world.
Yeah, that's great having you today. And listen, we had this short talk before this conversation, right? And we were exchanging something about your past, which is, by the way, very recent business path, because it seems to me like you're very young, but such in a leadership position, but you're very, very young, nevertheless. And I was really fascinated by the way you started your career. Meaning it's very clear to me that you were firstly involved in blockchain and then in virtual reality, augmented reality, and of course, which was the context of opportunity that sparked your involvement into this sector? Was it the technology? Was it the innovation? What was so important for you to begin from this?
Yes. Yeah, of course, as you see from my name, I'm Argentinian, but I live in Italy, in South Italy, in Calabria. And from here, I'm working with NTT Data since 10 years. So I'm really happy of what we're doing. And as you say, I started 10 years ago working on some very innovative technologies. In that moment, like we were talking about blockchain, virtual reality, IoT, and some others. I always say when I started working on blockchain, like Bitcoin was like $100, like really low price if we compare it to today. I didn't invest too much, so I'm still here. But the interesting thing is that I started working on these innovative technologies, and what I saw it was that the main need in the market is someone that helps the business to translate the technology. So there are a lot of new technologies, interesting things that can be done with the technology. In that moment, with blockchain, virtual reality, augmented reality. Now we talk about AI, and who knows which would be the next technologies. But we need some translator, to understand how these technologies can support the business, which are the use cases, which is the real things that we can do with that technologies. Also to support the customers to don't be scared about the technology, but to understand how they can use. And that's, let me say, the main role I had in these past years in the company. So I was telling to you that I'm a computer engineer that in some way changes his role to support the business. And that's what I do. So I try to translate technology, innovation, these new hype technologies on what we can really do, which problems they can really solve, which use cases make sense, which are just hype or just using the technology just because they want to experiment. And that's why, let me say, after many years involved in the innovation and on these technologies, now I'm supporting on the product part. So how we can translate innovative technologies, business problems in products that as a company we can provide to our customers to solve a specific problem. So not just technology, but solving specific problems. And yeah, that's the journey I did in the company in these past 10 years.
Well, it's very clear to me that maybe the main point of your interest is the concept of innovation and how to bridge innovation into actual use for the people and for the business, of course. So This is what is really intriguing to me. I found this definition when we talk about business from your perspective. We often refer to asset-based business, right? And asset-based business models. Can you elaborate a little bit this concept? Because to me, it's quite at the center of the market right.
Yes. Well, I try to answer to 2 points that you said that are really interesting. First of all, how we translate technology in products. The important point is to don't manage just the technology. One thing we start doing in NTT is that when we want to create a product, we don't start only with technical people. So we have technical people, of course, but we added design people, we have business people, we have experts of the domain, and they all together have to validate the solution and what they are proposing. That's one of the first things, because a lot of times we just say worked on the technology part without involving all the other functions, and then at the end we did a great technology thing that no one wanted. But involving several functions and managing innovation as, let me say, an holistic approach with all the people that are needed is very important when we manage innovation. And connected to the second thing you were saying about the asset-based business, as we have been approaching the product part and the products we have, not just as a product, but as an end-to-end support to our customers. And that's why we call asset-based business, because our customers, typically, they don't need just a product. They need a product that it is integrated in their systems, because, of course, the customers, they already have thousands of systems, and they need that the product is integrated, is managed by someone who knows how their systems are. So that's why, as NTT, our product structure, it's also very, very integrated with all our system integration capabilities, so that when we go to a customer, we say, okay, this is a product, but this is the way we can integrate and to all your systems you already have, and we can do that for you. That's something not that common. Typically, who do products, if he does product, they do products, they just do the product, and the system integration is something that someone else has to do. In this case, we are approaching in an end-to-end approach, and that's something that we see that customers really appreciate and helps to do things better for them.
Oh yes, it looks quite clear to me, which is the advantage of this approach that you have. And I can't deny my interest in the concept of innovation, well, against this rapid technology disruption that we assist from many years ago. And you were there, right? Because you talked to me about blockchain start and what AR and now AI. And what qualities do you believe are essential for leaders to identify, or maybe more to effectively manage and drive such innovations in such a pace and such a rhythm, frequency, and disruption?
Yes. So it's a really great question. So let me say my suggestions. I don't know if it is all that a leader needs, but at least let me say some suggestion I can give. So as I said before, I think it's very important when we talk about technology to don't just approach as a technology, as a technical approach. Okay, so when there are, for example, let's talk about AI in this moment. Of course, there is a lot of hype, lot of people trying to push AI everywhere. But the important thing is to understand that AI is not just the technology. Okay, it's technology is understanding the business, the process, the impacts, the economic impact of a solution. It's about the legal aspects. It's about the user experience of that technology. It's about so many things. So one of my biggest suggestions, as I say at the beginning of this meeting, is having an holistic approach, considering the technology from several points of view. I think that's one really, really important point to succeed when someone wants to implement this innovation. There are some statistics that in a hype moment, like the one we have today with AI, but we had also with blockchain and VR and AR, 95% of the POCs fails because they don't. There are many points that were not considered. So from an economic point of view, from a business, from a use case point of view, etc., and only 5% then moves to the production phase. Okay, and the reason, as I said, is one of the reasons is the one I said before, which is having not a whole view of everything that it is needed to adopt this technology. So that's one, I think, one of the biggest suggestions I think is needed. And the other thing is curiosity. So I think many I saw in the past, so many people interested on the technologies, but being afraid to test, to experiment. I think that experimentation is one of the most important things, having the possibility and the courage also to test, to try, to fail with the, let me say, not being worried about, let me say, failing, because that's one of the most important things. So we failed a lot. I failed a lot in the company, working with the technologies. But today, let me say, all the knowledge I have, all also the lessons learned, the suggestions are based on many failures when we tried for many times to just work on the technology point, or when we try to adapt a technology for a use case that doesn't make sense, but we tried, and at the end we learned that let me say this the approach we have today. So I think holistic view and courage to test, try, fail without being worried about what happens, I think, are two of the main things today I suggested a leader to have in the innovation. So yeah.
Very, very interesting. My question after your consideration here is, how do you measure the success and maybe also the impact? I mean, I may talk about the impact of digital product implementation within organization. How do you measure it?
Well, that's a really good question. So, of course, we have consolidated, let me say, a big process of investments we have. So, of course, we manage investments on different initiatives. First thing is that we separated the investments we are doing on emerging or new businesses from the ones that are already mature. So we separated that because we have different expectations from one and the others, okay? So when we talk about mature business, where we already are consolidated, of course, we have CapEx investments, OpEx investments, and then we are measuring the return on investments, how many customers, how we are succeeding with new customers. So we have the roadmap. So we are measuring, let me say, typically what a product needs to be, let me say, measured. But when we talk about the new technologies, we have a different approach. So I think one of the biggest mistakes we had in, and again, I come back to the mistakes we did in the past, is having, like big expectations, like, oh yes, we will do this AI and we expect in the next 5 years or 10 years, like 10 times the investment we did. And I think that's a big mistake we have done, especially with the emerging technology. So typically what we are doing is an iterative approach where we start with little investments, where we are measuring. The first thing is the interest of the customers. So even if it is not, let me say, paying for that or really few money that they are giving for using that product, but it's how many customers they demonstrated interest with this first prototype or MVP we have created. Based on the number of customers that they have really provided feedbacks and they see the product is interesting, at that moment, we decide how to grow, which are the functionalities we want to add, how we want to proceed, and then we do many other investments to grow more and more and more the product. We start, so the first KPI, let me say for us, is customers' interest. The second point is at that point is measuring the benefit on the performance of the asset. So giving the first return on investment, not for us, for the customer. So we created this, which is the impact we are generating for the customer. So can we measure that? Because typically you say, no, we did this, but we don't know how much the customer now it has a benefit on that. So the second step is measuring the benefit, measuring which is the performance, how it's impacting the customer. And then if we have a clear view, and also the customer has a clear view, that's, let me say, the best moment. Because when you give something that generates a measurable impact, it's easy at that point to do investments, to put a pricing, to push internally to the customer to say, okay, I want this solution because it generates this impact, and for us, the same. So that's, let me say, the wow moment where we say, okay, let's move to a second step, which is, let's improve more, invest more, and how we can go then, of course, to make this product more mature. So that's the approach, and typically how we are managing, especially the innovative products we have today.
Well, fantastic, because it sounds to me like measuring is a strategy or something else relating to having the good feedback from the clients, the market, and the machines themselves. So the software and also all the hardware part of your solution. So it's a true orchestration. By the way, the word of orchestration is quite a lot used this day when we talk about AI, right? And which is your perception of the way AI will change your job as a leader, as a decision maker, as a professional of solutions?
Yes, that's a really interesting thing, because as I said, when I started on blockchain many years ago, one of the claims of blockchain were like banks will disappear. The new technology that will change banks, and there won't be any more banks in the world because blockchain will manage everything. And after 10 years, banks are still there.
I was there at that time. Yes, I was there myself at that time, and now I'm here. So I
Yes.
totally agree with you, of course.
So typically, when a technology is in hype, there are big claims. Like everything will change. Everyone will disappear. The truth is that, of course, there is an impact. Typically, I think that Bill Gates said that we overestimate the short term and we underestimate the long term. And I think that's totally true. So typically we expect, jobs will disappear and things will change, and the world won't be the same. And at the end, there is a middle where we all arrive and using the new technologies. And I think AIs will be the same. It's true that it is. If we compare to other technologies, it's a big change. But I think that at the end, AI will be, let me say, the new tool or the new products that will support what we do. for sure will remove the jobs that are in some way repetitive, in some way are not where us as people, we are not adding so many value on that. So that's for sure will disappear, that kind of jobs, and will be done by the AI. To be honest, when all the AI hype arrived, I thought that it will be mainly, let me say, the repetitive tasks that will be changed. But then I saw also all the creative part, all the generative AI, and I was very surprised because I thought that the creative part was something that, because it is a human capability. I say it's not that easy that an AI can do that, but the generative AI surprised me. I think that also in that case, it's mainly in this moment, it's mainly a support, because if we see the creatives, they change in some way they work, but they are still in some way giving the prompts and the commands to the AI to do things. And they change it, let me say, from doing to telling an AI to do, and tuning how to tell to the AI to do. But it's still, let me say, the creative part is still in the human part. So I think that, as I said, AI will change a lot of work, will remove a lot of repetitive things, will support creatives, will automate a lot of things. And as a human, we will focus on things that really make sense. We focus, and I think that's something good. Every time this happens. So if we see the different revolutions, the technology revolutions, the people stop doing things to do things that were many times better, with less effort, physical effort or mental effort. And I think this will happen at the end. We will have more free time to do other things that will add value more than what we are doing today. So I'm positive about the AI. I'm positive about what will happen. I think we have to learn. And I think the biggest challenge is not too much on the technology part, but on how fast we adapt to this, because that's, I think, the biggest challenge. So typically, the revolutions in the past year took many years. And there are several charts that shows the time it took to a technology to be adopted by billions of people, So you see the phone, internet, Google search, etc. And the big challenge is that every time is shorter. Like every time the billions of people adoption is taking less time. That means that you have to adapt faster. And that's, I think, one of the biggest challenge we have today on how we adapt the technology. And in that point, products support a lot, because when you have a product that it's already, solving a specific use case, it's something useful instead of having to create everything from scratch. So, and that's why today there are a lot of startups, companies that like us are focusing more on the products, because we see that being fast, it's something very, very important in this moment in the technology.
Yes, absolutely. I do agree with you. I totally do agree with you. But this very urgent need that we have to update fast and to improve fast. At this absolutely match what you say before, that you have to fail fast so you can update and grow fast. Listen, in this scenario, one question I would have for you is, what do you suggest as a major skill for the young people that are in front of them, that have in front of them this ever changing and fast changing scenario of the business? So if you would give some advice to younger generation that are thinking themselves as the new leaders of the future, in terms of not only, of course, in terms of let me say, in business, but leaders in also in aligning themselves with the business and with the scenario that we are getting into. Which are your advices for them?
Well, I have, let me say, something I discovered during my journey in the company, and also while I was studying it, is that as I said, I'm a computer engineer. And when I joined a company like NTT, I discovered that, as I said, it's not only about technology, but it's about the business. And I discovered that one of the most important skills is about the communication, the being able to communicate what you are doing to everyone, to your boss, to your customers, in a podcast, on internet. And if we see in this moment, there are let me say, in the past, the communication was more focused only on some channels that were very, in some way, managed by some companies. So only some people communicated, and this skill, let me say, was focused more on some specific people. But if we look today we have socials, we have many channels. So we have podcasts, we have website, we have calls all day with a lot of people. And I think one of the most important skills I learned is it's key to have, it's the communication. So I remember my first public speaking and storytelling lessons I had with some coaches we have in the company. And for me, it was a wow moment. I say, whoa. So communicating is key. And I remember one point that it's totally mind blow. So my life. So in a communication, 7% it's the content of what you said, and 93% it's how you tell and you say and you explain what you are saying. And that was the moment and one information that changed totally my point of view, because I said I was, as a good computer engineer, focused on the 7%, my code, my software, what I do has to work, has to be perfect. But then when I communicate what I did to everyone, I totally fail. And that's one of the most important things. So having these two things, so as a computer engineer, a good knowledge of what I'm doing, but having the possibility and having the skill, because it's a skill you need to train a lot of communication, it's, I think, very, very important. So my suggestion is to subscribe to a public speaking and a storytelling course, because it's something very, very, very important. For me, it was key. And the second thing after that, because then you start working and having many negotiations, it's about negotiation. So starting from the negotiation of your salary to everything else, it's key. And are two things that, at least in the university, let me say, that are more focused on the technical part. We don't receive, let me say, a background on that. I'm really grateful to the company because they prepared on this. And I suggest to everyone to focus on these two things. Will support, let me say, the life on every aspect, because the negotiation then you can apply with your wife, with your children,
Absolutely.
in your work,
Yes,
everywhere, but also at work, of course.
Absolutely. Francisco, it was such a great opportunity to chat with you in this occasion with the Node. So thank you so much for you being here with us. So glad to meet today Francisco Spadafora, Senior Director and Head of Digital Products and Asset-Based Business and NTT Data Italia. Thank you, Francisco, so much.
Thank you, Luca. It was a pleasure to talk this time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.